What's up, everyone? Maiko here. Sorry, folks, I did not mean to scare you. I'm calmed down now, but this game's got me excited and hyped. Okay, borrowing ActRaiser in 1991, why is this still my favorite SNES game, or SNES, that Mike hates for me to use? But anyways, going back in middle school, my best friend Kevin had this habit of handing me games I've never played before. One Friday after school, he traded me this cartridge, ActRaiser. I remember looking at the cartridge artwork, lightning striking pyramids, and thinking, man, this looks like another one of those world building games. I'd already tried Populous, and I wasn't really into that. Even SimCity wasn't what I wanted when I fired up my Super Nintendo. I wanted to play something, not manage something, but Kevin was letting me borrow it, so I took it. The only problem was, I only had the weekend with it. By Monday morning at middle school, I had to give it back. That night, I went to my Aunt Betty's house like I did on some Friday nights. I finished my chores, got my homework done, and one of her chili burgers. Sorry, I always drift into food. Then I slipped that cartridge into the Super Nintendo and hooked up to her little CRT in the room next to her bedroom. I was already, around 9 o'clock? I had maybe a few hours before she went to sleep, and I had to turn it off. I hit the power button, not expecting much, and then the music started. Oh, the music. That was the first time I thought maybe I was wrong about this game, because a few minutes later, my spirit was dropping out of the sky into a giant warrior statue with a freaking sword in its hand, and that's when I realized this wasn't just a simulation game. It was something else entirely. So today, I'm going back to ActRaiser to find out why borrowing this ugly looking cartridge in 1991 turned into one of my favorite Super Nintendo memories, and whether I can finally finish what I couldn't finish during that weekend back in middle school. Aloha, gamer. My name's Mike, the Gaming Road Warrior, and I'm a Hawaiian gamer and a US Navy Seabee veteran, and now your storyteller in the gaming wasteland. So grab your sword, bring your little angel buddy, and let's hit the throttle to the gaming wasteland. Sometime in 1991, Kevin handed me ActRaiser and told me I was gonna love it. Kevin was one of those friends who always seemed to have games I've never played before. He gave me the cartridge, handed me the manual, and said, "Trust me, Mike, you're gonna like this." That manual should have been the warning sign. If a game needed a manual, Kid Mike was already suspicious. I remember sitting on the school bus, pulling ActRaiser out of my backpack and staring at that label again. Lightning, pyramids, a little weird. It looked like homework with thunder, and the pressure was already there because I didn't own it. This was Kevin's game. Monday morning, it had to go back. When ActRaiser started, I expected the slow sim game I was afraid of. Instead, the game opens in a floating palace in the sky, and this little angel starts talking to me. He calls me Master, and Kid Mike is sitting there like, wait, am I playing God? The angel tells you monsters are in control of the earth, and Tanzra sealed away your power. The English version calls him Tanzra, but come on, we all know what he really was. This is God versus Satan. Then the game sends your spirit down from the sky, and those Mode 7 graphics, and you drop into this giant warrior statue with armor and a sword. Now I was smiling. The first action stage in Fillmore had trees with faces, platforms moving through the forest, monsters coming at me, and this epic music that made everything feel bigger than it probably had any right to feel. Then I reached the first boss, the Centaur. This armored, half-man, half-horse boss comes charging at me with a lance and lightning. At first he scared me, but once I started watching his pattern, I figured him out, and I beat him on the first try. That felt amazing. Then the game threw me into the simulation part, and I remember thinking, oh no, here comes the game I was afraid of.
Did you know? ActRaiser's music was composed by Yuzo Koshiro, the same composer behind games like Streets of Rage and The Revenge of Shinobi. His soundtrack helped make ActRaiser feel bigger, darker, and more cinematic than a lot of early Super Nintendo games. For an early SNES title, this music didn't sound small. It sounded like the heavens were opening, monsters were rising, and Mike was already in trouble. Okay, Mike, I did my part. I'm gonna hit the beach now. Surf's up!
At first, I want to get back to the sword fighting. I didn't want to guide people. I didn't want to clear bushes. I didn't want to manage town. But then I opened the manual Kevin gave me, and I started to understand what the game wanted me to do. Now I'm flying around as this little angel, shooting monsters with arrows, protecting the people, using miracles, clearing land with lightning, and guiding the town toward monster lairs so the people can seal them. And when they sealed a lair, it felt good. Not only because the town could build on that land, but because it meant one less monster was flying around, trying to annoy me. Little by little, the sim part started working on me. The first interaction that stayed with me was Fillmore. I was clearing bushes with lightning, guiding the people to monster lairs, and watching the small town slowly come back to life. Then the game starts hinting that something worse is still hiding in the land. There is this curse, the missing founder or husband story, and a greater evil connected to the Minotaur. As a kid, I felt like I was racing the clock to save someone. That was when I realized the action stages and the sim section were connected. The town building was not just filler, it was the reason I was fighting. Then Bloodpool gave me another moment I never forget. The people tell you a kid named Teddy is missing. That bothered me. Now I wasn't thinking about population numbers, better houses, or sealing lairs. I was thinking, where is this kid? How do I save him? Then later in Marahana, the game does it again. You are helping the people, clearing the land, sealing the monster lairs, and then the people start disappearing. Like, where the hell did they go? They go near the shrine that creeped me out. Because now, evil wasn't just watching in the action stages. It was reaching into the towns. It was messing with the people I had been guiding the whole time. That is what made ActRaiser special to me. The action parts gave me the sword. The simulation parts gave me a reason to use it. Saturday and Sunday became a blur. I still had chores to do around Aunt Betty's house. I had to help with the animals, bring in firewood, eat meals, and do the normal weekend stuff. Sure, Saturday morning cartoons were on, and yeah, I probably got distracted by cable TV because I didn't have it at home. But every time I got back to that little CRT and fired up the Super Nintendo, ActRaiser pulled me in deeper. I kept pushing through the lands, and the bosses were a big reason why I never forgot this game. The Centaur was the perfect opening boss. The Minotaur made Fillmore feel complete because by then I actually cared about the town. And the feral-looking boss in, what was it, Cassandra stuck with me because I finally paid off what I saw in the cartridge artwork. The pyramids, the desert, the Egyptian-style setting. The whole area made ActRaiser feel like this world tour through different mythological nightmares. But not every action stage was fun for me. The one that drove me crazy was the stage inside the tree in Northwall. Man, I hated that place. I know some people probably love that stage, but I died there a lot. The platforming felt rough, the enemies annoyed me, and by that point, I was trying to get through the game before the weekend ran out. So every death felt worse than it should have, because this wasn't my game. As you all know, this was Kevin's copy. Monday morning was coming, and every time I died inside that stupid tree, I felt like the clock was laughing at me. By the time I reached Deathheim, the weekend started to feel real. It wasn't just another level anymore. It was Sunday night. The weekend was almost over. I had school the next morning, and ActRaiser had to go back to Kevin. So every boss in that final stretch felt heavier than it should have. The game starts throwing those bosses back at me again, one after another, like it was asking me, "Are you sure you're ready?" And honestly, I wasn't. I got past one boss, then another, then another. My hands were getting sweaty. I was sitting there in front of that little CRT trying not to make too much noise because Aunt Betty was probably getting ready for bed. But inside, I was losing my mind. I was so close. After spending the whole weekend rebuilding towns, sealing monster lairs, saving people, and fighting my way through every land, I could feel the end of the game right there in front of me. Then I finally made it to Satan, and he destroyed me. Not once, not twice, over and over again. Every time I fought, I had him figured out. He had another attack waiting for me. I didn't have the health I should have. I didn't understand how important the population really was. I didn't have the right magic ready the way I should have. And the worst part was the clock, because this wasn't my game. This was Kevin's copy. Monday morning was coming. I remember sitting there after another loss staring at the screen. Knowingly, I probably had time for maybe one more try. So I tried again. I told myself, this is it. I can beat him. I fought through the bosses again. I made it back to Satan. And guess what, people? Once again, he beat me. That was it. I had to save the game, turn off the Super Nintendo, and go to bed, knowing I had made it all the way to the end, but I didn't finish it. The next morning, I had to put ActRaiser back in my backpack and return it to Kevin at middle school. And man, that bothered me, because I didn't hate the game, I loved it. That was the problem. I had spent one weekend with ActRaiser, and it became one of my favorite Super Nintendo games. But when Monday morning came, the game went back to Kevin, and the fight stayed unfinished. That unfinished fight stuck with me for a long time. About 2 weeks later, Kevin invited me over at his house. I told him I didn't beat Tanzra, because that is the name I remembered from the instruction manual. Kevin already had better health, stronger powers, and the magic I should have been using for those final bosses. I think it's like that comet or whatever, the flying stars that go over the place. But yeah, Kevin there, I finally beat Tanzra, but deep down, it never really felt like I beat him by myself. It felt like I borrowed Kevin's game again, borrowed Kevin's stronger save file, and borrowed Kevin's help to finish something I couldn't finish on my own. And I was grateful for that, but that little part of me still knew the truth. Kid Mike did not beat ActRaiser that weekend. That is why coming back to this game as an adult meant more to me than just checking another game off the backlog. This time, I built up the population. I earned extra hit points. I found the scrolls. I saved the stronger magic for the final fight, and I studied the boss patterns instead of trying to brute force my way through everything. Even as an adult, Satan still beat me over and over again, but this time was different. This time I understood the game, and this time I finally beat him myself. That felt amazing, because I didn't just beat the final boss, I finished the weekend that Kid Mike couldn't finish back in middle school. And that is why ActRaiser is still one of my favorite Super Nintendo experiences. Not just because of the music, the action, the simulation, or the story, but because this game gave me a childhood loss that I finally turned into adult victory. A lot of us have games like that, games we loved as kids, but never finish. Maybe an older brother beat it for you, maybe a sister helped you. Maybe a friend got you past the hard part, or maybe, like me, you got close, but had to give the game back before you could finish the job. Go back to that game you never beat. Give it another shot, because finally beating ActRaiser all these years later felt incredible. I can now cross this game off my list right next to the original Castlevania on the NES. Thank you, Retro Warriors, for listening to my story about borrowing ActRaiser in 1991 and finally finishing the fight after all these years. Before I go, I want to thank my Retro Warrior Knights, Mr. Postyle, Retro Man Randy Savage, Mike's Gaming Gala, Off Grid Arcade, Retro Bliss Gaming, and Arcade Chaos! Thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. Until next time, Retro Warriors, I need a cappuccino, but take care. And remember, and an energy drink. Gaming is your road to adventure. Okay, I'm settled down. Really, I'm done. I'm done.